So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. And if you are able to, if you could mute yourselves, if you need to ask a question, absolutely unmute yourself. That's not a problem. So just relax into today. Let's just relax your back and your shoulders and just give yourself a little shake and let go of the troubles that have been on your mind recently, and just come into art today, just to try something new. This is for everyone. You can decide if you want to do it card or if you want to do it as just practice on a piece of paper. And if you do it on just a piece of paper and you decide you want it as a card, you can always glue it to a card. So we've taped together some green tape on a white piece of paper, and this is going to be our snow. So we'll start with the left-hand side picture. We're not going to do the trees right away. We will work back and forth from one to the other. So we'll start with just clear water. So you'll need to have a little bit of paper towel with you, a couple of water dishes. I just have two little dishes. I just have 2 little cups. One I try to keep clear, and the other I use for cleaning my brush. So we'll start with just plain water. And I dip my brush into the water and then tap it off onto my paper towel so I don't have too much water. I don't want it to be dripping. And I think I'll need to move something on my screen here that might be in the way. There we go. So I'm just going to, hello.
I just wanted to ask, I'm new to this. Are you using a thick brush or a thin brush?
This is the size of the brush that I'm using. I like to use an angle brush. It's not a really big brush. It's probably a number 4, number 5. It doesn't actually have the number on anymore. It's worn off, but I think it would be a number 4 or a number 5 if you have numbers on your brush.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll just put water at the top above the tape. Just a bit of water above every piece of tape. And then I'm going to use a blue, a watered down blue. I'm going to put that just above each piece of tape. And this is, just be fairly light with this. Just relax your arms, relax your shoulders, relax your hand. And then I'm going to go into a green. And I'm going to put green on top of that blue. So I'm going to put green on top of that blue. And so it'll just, because it's wet already, it should blend in. Now I'm going to rinse my brush off completely. Have it be clear of any paint. I'm going to tap it off on my paper towel. And I'm going to come back onto where I put that paint. And I'm going to soften it so that it blends up a little bit. So I still want to leave a lot of white, but I want any hard edges to be softened. So it's just with the clean brush with just clear water. Now I like to leave that and just let that dry. So I'm not going to do any more with that. I'm going over to my snowman. So I have just a medium brush. Well, I guess it's a fairly small brush. It's not a tiny, tiny brush, but it is a smaller brush. I'm not sure if you can see that. And that's a Curry's number 2. So I'm just going to dip it in the water. Just get a bit of water, and I'm going to go into my ochre paint, which is yellow and brown mixed together in case you don't have ochre. So it's a yellowy color. And I'm going to paint my snowman scarf, every other part of the scarf. I've got some lines in between that I'm going to paint a different color. And if I have some white spaces left in between, I'm really not too worried about that. It might look like there's a little bit of snow mixed in there.
Cathy, hi, it's Troy.
Hi, Troy.
Is it possible to bring your canvas closer to your phone? It's really kind of far back.
Okay, I tried to reverse, to do the reverse of what you had said with my laptop, and it's not going to work. I don't get, I can't.
It's looking great on your phone. It just needs to moved over closer to your cup.
Yeah, I just have to paint left-handed if I do it that way.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's not the easiest for me. Probably would make me more creative, but it might make my paintings look a little more creative too.
Isha, can I come down?
Hopefully that's better for you.
I think it is, yes.
Okay. There we go. Maybe that's a bit closer for everyone. So now I'm going to do his nose, which is orange. And I have a nice bright orange. I'm just going to paint that carrot nose. And I'm going to paint the little buttons on his chest. So those are bright red. So they really stand out. And if we find by the end of our picture that our colors have faded, we can go back over again with watercolor. The colors that you put on, if you're not using a really strong pigment, will dry 20 to 30% later than when you put them on. So you may find you'll want to go back over again. I think even if I look at my nose is just drying a little bit lighter, so I may come back and do that again. And then I'm going to use that same red, and I'm going to do in between each part of his scarf. So it's just a little line. So just relax with your brush. Just take a deep breath. If you're holding your breath, you're probably holding your brush pretty tight. So just relax and enjoy the color going on. Now with that same red, I want to decide with my colors, with my light bulbs that are on the light string. I'm going to paint every fifth light bulb. I'm going to paint red. If I do it this way, then I don't need to remember in my counting. So I'll paint the first one red. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth one is red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3. So I won't paint any more red. And then I can decide on my next color. And this is up to you. This is where our own individuality comes in. You can paint it ochre, you can paint it green, you can paint it blue, you can paint it yellow, you can paint it orange or green, whatever color you decide. I'm going to go with ochre. So my second one is ochre. I know that the one right after my red one is ochre, so I don't need to be counting anymore. And then I'm going to go with a light blue. So again, I don't need to count anymore because I know after every ochre one is blue. And I'm going to go to green next, just a light green. And it looks like I've got one spare, so I'm just going to pick a color from my palette and just pop it into that one. I must have missed that in my count. But not to worry about it. This is part of art and watercolor and painting and exploring and giving our brain a break and not feeling too stressed about anything. So we're going to move from our snowman. We're going to let that dry so none of those bulbs get disturbed when we do our wiring. None of the outside of the snowman gets disturbed when we do our outside, when we do our tracing. But we'll go back to the trees in the forest. So we're going to actually paint those trees on. So we need to take off this green tape. So very gently remove that tape. We'll just pick at the edge and just very slowly, very gently pull that tape off. This is a lovely technique that we use when we're doing birch trees, but it's also nice for us to do a little background of snow.
I've actually done it with the birch trees, but I didn't recognize what you're doing until just this moment.
Ah,
yeah, but I love doing it with the birch trees. That's so fun.
Yes, the birch. I love to do birch trees too. So now with the same small brush that we used before to do the work on the snowman, this is again a number 2, we're going to start to paint some trees. And when we paint the trees, so we're going to use some green to start with and mix it with a little bit of blue. Once you mix that green and blue together, just add a bit of water so it's quite liquidy, not drippy, but just so that it's something that you can move with. When we paint the trees on this picture, the bottom of the tree is not to go past the bottom of our line. So this is where our tree would start. And I'm going to bring my tree right up to the next line. And so I'm just doing some small strokes to give the look of a pine tree, a tree in the forest. So just some small strokes. And I might want to put just a few sticking out here and there. I also don't necessarily need that tree to have the perfect top. Trees, natural trees in the forest don't have a natural top. They have a branch out here and there. So just remember that this line, so I'll just do the next tree. This line is the bottom of the tree. So I'm going to do a smaller tree here. And just hold your brush really lightly. And another tree here. So I'm looking for an odd number. I'm looking for 1, 3, 5, or 7. And the reason that we're doing odd numbers is because our brain can naturally equate even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. But when we have odd numbers, it creates something in our vision that makes us want to linger on a picture. And that just makes your focal point, your whole trees, your whole vision of your picture a little more interesting. So those are green and blue mixed together. Now I'm just going to add a little more darker green, just a few little lines here and there, just to give some depth for my tree. So this is just a darker green that's sitting in the tree. And it's okay that we have white spots that will give that look of snow. And just hold your brush lightly. Just breathe, just relax your shoulders. Don't have a death grip on your brush. This is just a piece of paper. And this is good for practice, for a light flow. Now this biggest tree that I've got in the front, I want to add a little darker green again, just a little bit darker again. This is my focal point for my picture. So I want it to look the boldest. All right, now I want those trees to dry. I'm going to do a little bit more work at the bottom of them. I'm also going to put a little bit of decoration on a couple. I'm going to ground those trees, but I want them to dry the way they are. And I may go back and add a little bit of blue to the snow. But while that's drying, that's one of the reasons why we're doing a second picture. Well, besides, and I wanted you to learn a little bit about how to use the tape in a different manner. But I also wanted to do some fun. So we're going to go back to the snowman and we're going to paint the wire green. So I'm just giving a line, just following the line that I've drawn and painting that in green. I'm going to come back and add a second color to that green and make it look like a ribboned wire, but firstly, I just need to put the base color on. And that wire goes right into that one mitt on his right hand, and it also goes over top of his scarf. So we don't, because it's a wire, we don't need it to be really fine. If it's a little thicker, that's fine. We're also going to add a different color as well, which will change the look of it and make it look a little more crimply like a wire would be. And we're going to do with black. I actually have a color that's Payne's Gray. If it turns out too light, I can go over it a second time, but I'm using Payne's Gray. And I'm going to go and give this snowman a complete outline. So wherever I've drawn lines around him, I'm going to give an outline. So I'm going around his feet. And around, just around his body.
Sorry, what was the second color for the Christmas lights? Green and what?
It's up to you. You can use the colors that you like. I have red, ochre, blue, green.
No, on the actual cord.
On the cord is green, and the secondary color that we'll use will be ochre.
Oh, you haven't done it yet.
All I've done now is just a green outline of the wire.
Okay, perfect. I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, no, you haven't. I just like that to dry a little bit. So we're just doing the outline of the snowman. And so again, if you're holding your breath, you're probably holding your brush really tight. So just take a deep breath and let it go. And you'll find you'll release that death grip on your brush and your painting will be that much smoother and more relaxed. Again, I'm still going, just doing the outside of the snowman. So you can see down the bottom, this color has got fairly light, so I'm just going to go over it again just to darken it a little bit. And if by darkening it a little bit, my lines get a little bit wider, that's okay. And we'll go around his head. I'll just be careful of my little buttons on his chest.
More Christmas cards.
What?
Oh, geez, I can't do it while I'm painting.
Okay, I'll leave it in. I just didn't know if you wanted one to get a free.
Yeah, I don't.
And we'll also go around his scarf. So we'll make that scarf look nice and full. And while we're working at that scarf area, we'll draw those little lines in between where all the stripes are, just to accentuate that a little more. So just relax your neck a little bit. Just give it a little turn from side to side, just gently. And relax your brain. We just want to go into the flow of winter, into happy snowman, into soft, snowy mounds around the trees. So we'll go back to our green-blue mix. So it's fairly dark, more blue than green, just a bit of a puddle. And we just want to give a bit of grounding at the base of each tree. Just a little bit of darkness where the snow has melted at the base of each tree. And we'll just trail it off with our brush in just a bit of a pointed fashion. And once you have that base for each tree, we're going to do a wash. So if you take your brush, dip it in your clear water, or it doesn't really matter if it's your dirty water, if that's all you've got left, and just tap it off on your paper towel. And then we're just going to rub on top underneath the tree so that we have a softer look, but we still have that darkness. So each tree I'm going to take and rinse my brush and pat the water off, and then I'm going to just rub on top of the snow at the base of each tree. So I still have a bit of darkness there, but it's blended in. It's just a softer look. So I'm just using clear water, I'm just rubbing, cleaning off my brush for the next tree. Just a nice soft wash, just to move that paint just so slightly. So I'm going to move back to my snowman again. I'm going to go back to the black. And I'm going to twist my brush a little bit. Just turn it slightly so that I have a point on the end of my brush. I'm just turning slightly in my paint. So I have a nice point. And I'm going to put a circle around each circle that I have put in pencil on my paper. And I don't have to do a whole circle all at once, although I could if I choose to. But if I wanted to look more like a circle, I would do one half and then the other. One half and then the other. And see, they don't all have to be perfect. That one's got a little bit of a curl on it. That's okay. This one's got a little bit of a curl on the end. That's okay. So I'm going to do one half and then the one half and then the other.
That's snow?
That is snow.
Okay.
Yes. So one half and then the other. So because we've outlined our snowman and he's all in white, we also are outlining each snowflake, which gives that same similar look. So we have repeated the pattern. Now on our light band, our light, our cable, we're going to use ochre in a twisted formation. So we're going to do like a sideways letter C. It gives that cable the look of a twist. So I'm doing that between each bulb.
Could you please talk about what you just did there, Cathy, please? About the
Yes,
side by center C?
Yep, I'm just,
When you're free.
we have our cable, our wire around the snowman.
Mm-hmm.
We have our wire.
Yep.
And then with the color ochre, whoops, let me just put a couple of light bulbs on there. I've got some light bulbs. I'm just going to throw these in there. I know that's probably not your colors, but and between each light bulb, I'm going to do a letter C.
Okay. Now I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. So it gives the look of a twisted wire. Now that's a backwards C, but it gives the look of the wire twisting. I'm going to take advantage of that ochre while I've got it on my brush, and I'm going back to the trees. And I want the trees to look like they have some garland on them. So on my trees, I'm going to give them garland. So if my tree is here, then I'm going to put that garland, just give the look of garland on my tree. So it's just a few, it's not a solid line all the way across the tree. I start with my little tree. I'm just going to give some nice little slashes of color. And I'm going to try and make it quite a solid color so it's more visible from the distance. And if you just hold your brush lightly and touch that color on there. And then my focal point, my bigger tree, which actually I think I want to make this tree a little bit wider because it is my focal point. So just with a few strokes, I can expand my tree. And I'm not going to use ochre for the star on the top of the tree. I'm actually going to use yellow. I want it to look a little brighter, a little tinselier. So I'm using yellow. And I'm not worried about a perfect star. I just want that shine and that glow at the top of the tree. So again, just take a deep breath and just relax. And if it's not a perfect star, it's okay. It's not supposed to be. Nothing is supposed to be perfect in this. This is the joy of painting and learning something new and exploring with wherever the paint goes. And I'd like my focal point, my center biggest tree, to have some little Christmas ornaments or little red balls on it as well. So with a dark, dark red, a nice, well, I say dark, but a nice bright red, a solid red, I'm going to put some symbol of some ornaments on my tree. I have a little book. I'd just like to share a reading with you. This is something that I read every now and then. I pick it up, and it's my book about meditations for everyday living. And it's called May You Know Joy. And you pick a little card out of the bag and then read the reading for the day. And today my word is clarity. So it says, may you know, and I would wish this for all of you as well, may you know clarity of vision and purpose. When the world becomes obscured with untrustworthy, may you know your own soul, your own truth, and your own heart. May this clarity be your compass as you take the steps of your journey. Trust this clear vision and make firm choices that are in the interest of your own greatest good. I read that today and it was on my heart. I thought I would share that with you as well. And so let's go back to our snowman with black, and we're going to give him a face, a little smile. And you can make it a smirk, or you can make it just a straight smile, but we'll just give him a little bit of personality today. And then this is where you decide what your artist signature will be, and you decide where it is you want to put it. Typically it's on the right-hand corner. And so I'll put mine while we're online together. And if you've made it a card and you want to, you could put that on the back. That might be nice. Made for you with love by. So that's another day of painting today. I hope you enjoyed what we did and you learned a little bit more. Practice if you're able. And if the mood strikes you over the next week, just do a little bit of extra just for fun, just to see. Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity just to thank you for being with me.